Hey everybody, today we're going to quickly cover the Kentucky primary results from yesterday. I've not been feeling well the past day and a half, but I wanted to put out a quick video. So here it is right here on New York Times. Daniel Cameron, he will be the Republican nominee. He's going to go up against Andy Beshear. He got close to a majority of the vote, 47.7. Ryan Quarles, he got in second place with 21.7, and Kelly Craft, she got in third place with only 17%. So any attempt at her surging late, that fell flat. She spent a ton of her own money. It did not pan out whatsoever for Craft. Based on the one debate that I watched, Craft did seem weak to me. Cameron seemed like the stronger candidate, so it is going to be Cameron. It's not much of a shock. I thought it would be Cameron. And we've got the map here. And Cameron won almost all of the counties. A few of them went for Quarles, a few of them went for Craft. But the thing is, I heard there was only 14% voter turnout, so that is super low, but it is a primary. But to not even get to 20%, it's a little disappointing. But if we go here to take a look at the most populous county, Jefferson, Cameron got 61% of the vote, and he pretty much cleaned up around the state. Not a lot of surprises on this map. I think the biggest takeaway is Kelly Craft getting in third, and she ended up flopping a little bit harder than expected. So what about for the Democrats? Well, here there's even less of a shock. Incumbent Andy Beshear, he got over 91% of the vote. He only had token opposition, and of course, he won every county by massive margins. And if you compare the raw vote totals in these primaries, Republicans got over 300,000, Democrats at 193,000. I always say in primaries, you got to take that with a grain of salt. A lot of times that has no bearing on what will happen in the general election. Sometimes there is a correlation, but given the turnout was so extremely low and the election hasn't really started heating up yet, the total votes in the primary I think is pretty close to irrelevant. So you can scroll down here further if you want to take a look at some of the other primary results. For Kentucky, got Secretary of State, Agriculture Commissioner, Attorney General, and a few others on here. But let's switch over to Wikipedia. So here's the page again. We've been here many times, and a lot of this has the same results that we just covered. The primary totals for both sides, the endorsements. Down here for the Republicans, you could take a look at the campaign financing. Again, Kelly Craft, she appears to have massively outspent everybody else, but that just goes to show sometimes money does not equal votes. It definitely helps more times than not, but a 17% finish, spending that much more money, that's extremely disappointing if you're Kelly Craft. So we've got the debates here. You can watch those if you'd like. And we've got the primary polling. Emerson did put out another poll right before the election that had Cameron at 33, Kraft at 18, and Quarles at 13, with 13% undecided. I'd say they were off. They weren't way off, but they were off by a little bit. Cameron was close to 50, and then they underestimated Ryan Quarles. Eric Dieters was at 10% in that poll. He only got 5.8, but it's a primary electorate. There's going to be a little bit more variance when trying to sample those voters. So now we come down to the main event, the general election. Beshear and Cameron. Who's it going to be? Well, we only have one poll from back in January. Mason-Dixon shows Andy Beshear at 49%. Cameron is at 40, 11% undecided. This poll is definitely outdated at this point, but I don't know how much more Cameron is going to go up. Beshear is very popular. His approval rating was at about 60% last I checked. Beshear is definitely not as polarizing as some other governors are in a politically unfriendly state. We know Kentucky's a red state, definitely on a national level, pretty much for every statewide office, the state legislator, but for governor, like with most states, that's the one office where voters are willing to cross to the other side and support the other party. They've done it in plenty of states, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Maryland. There's a lot of reasons as to why that is. I think in this case, Andy Beshear, his dad was governor and served 2 terms, so his name recognition is going to be high. But I also think with such an overwhelmingly GOP state legislator, I think there's enough voters in the middle that might be willing to want to have a little bit of a check on that kind of power. So they elect the Democrat to governor, even though the state legislator has enough to override his vetoes. I think that's one explanation as to why Beshear has more popularity than, let's say, his predecessor Matt Bevin did. When you have one party controlling everything, then you have no excuses, and you give a lot of voters in the middle a reason to look to the other side if they want to see some change in their state. So can Andy Beshear be defeated? Yeah, I think he can, but I'd say he's favored to win right now. Cameron is going to go into this as the underdog, and he's going to hope the partisan lean of the state can be enough to give him a victory. And you'd think in Kentucky, all he really has to do is turn out his base and some voters in the middle, and that should be able to get him to the 50% mark. But with Beshear's popularity, that's a big unknown. Now, Beshear having a 60% approval rating, I don't think that means he's going to win with 60% of the vote. Given the lean of the state, some of those voters, I think, are going to come back home to the Republican. And that's got to be the main thing that's going to make the Beshear camp nervous. Can they defy the political leanings of the state? Now, in a statewide election like this, there's of course going to be a lot of other issues. And with all those issues, there's going to be an opportunity for Beshear to elevate himself further or to provide an opening for Cameron. So we'll see what happens, but that's a recap of this Kentucky primary. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about Daniel Cameron or Andy Beshear? Who do you think is going to win the election this far out? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.